You've seen the Yukon 100 times. It's the gold rush postcard, the reality show backdrop. That big empty white space in the top corner of Canada that nobody's map bothers to label. You think you know what it is. You don't. This is a territory bigger than California with fewer people than a sold-out baseball stadium. There are machines the size of apartment buildings abandoned in the forest, exactly where they stopped digging. And there is ground up there that never froze during the Ice Age, ground that has been quietly remembering everything since. So here are 20 facts about the Yukon that prove almost everything you think you know about it is wrong. Real, documented, and almost impossible to believe. And stay for the last one, because it's the strangest of all. The frozen ground that kept the Yukon secrets for 50,000 years has started giving them back. Let's dive in. Number 20. The Empty Giant. On a classroom map, the Yukon reads like a manageable wedge of the north. In reality, it covers more than 480,000 square kilometers, bigger than California. Stack West Virginia on top of California, and you are finally in the neighborhood. Now count the people. Fewer than 46,000. A sold-out night at Yankee Stadium holds more human beings than the entire Yukon, and almost 3/4 of them live in one town, Whitehorse. Spread the rest out and each person gets more than 10 square kilometers to themselves. You would expect a place that big to fill up eventually. It hasn't. The population has never come close to what Dawson City alone held in 1898. 100 years of arrivals, and the land still hasn't made room. Number 19. The Sleeping Dredge. Deep in the willows along Bonanza Creek, a machine the size of an apartment building sits exactly where it stopped working. Dredge number 4 is a towering wooden gold dredge, the largest of its kind in North America. A rusting wall of timber and steel looming over the spruce trees. For decades, it crawled up the creek on its own pond, swallowing frozen gravel at one end and spitting washed stone out the other. And on its best days, it pulled in around 800 ounces of gold. Then, in 1959, the economics died, and the crew simply shut it down and walked away. Nobody dismantled it. Nobody towed it south. The forest grew back to the gunnels before Parks Canada restored it. The gold rush never really ended here. It stopped mid-motion, and the dredge is still waiting for a shift that never comes. Number 18. Dead horses. The Klondike Stampede has a romantic reputation, and the White Pass Trail is where that reputation goes to die. In the winter of 1897 and 1898, tens of thousands of stampeders pushed their outfits over the pass from Skagway. Horses bought cheap on the docks, overloaded, underfed, driven up a narrow track of boulders and bog. Around 3,000 horses and mules died on that one trail in a single season, falling from ledges, drowning in mud holes, left where they dropped, because stopping meant losing your place in line. One section became known as Dead Horse Gulch, where travelers wrote that a man could cross the ravine without touching the ground. Jack London described animals worked until nothing was left in them to work. The gold was real, so was the price. Number 17. The Vanishing City. In the summer of 1898, Dawson City was one of the largest settlements in the entire Northwest. Around 30,000 people crammed onto a floodplain at the mouth of the Klondike River, with electric lights, telephones, and theaters. Newspapers called it the Paris of the North. Then, in 1899, word arrived of gold on the beaches of Nome, Alaska, and Dawson began to empty like a bathtub with the plug pulled. Thousands left within weeks, and the population soon collapsed to a fraction of its peak. Today, about 1,500 people live in Dawson year-round, walking boardwalks past false-fronted buildings that once held opera companies. Boom towns. Don't die politely. They just get quieter and quieter until you can hear the river again. Number 16. The Toe. Dawson City is also home to what might be the strangest bar tradition on Earth. In an old frontier saloon at the downtown hotel, travelers line up for a shot of whiskey called the sourtoe cocktail, and what floats in the glass is a real preserved human toe. You can drink it fast, you can drink it slow, but your lips have got to touch the toe. The tradition began in 1973 when a local character named Captain Dick Stevenson found a preserved toe in an old jar and carried it to the bar. A club was born. More than 100,000 people have joined, and the hotel has gone through more than a dozen toes, all donated. Yes, donated. People mail them in. After a customer deliberately swallowed one in 2013, the fine was raised to $2,500. The only drink on Earth with a body part, a waiting list of spares, and its own legal deterrent. Number 15. Still digging. You'd file the Klondike Gold Rush under finished history. The creeks outside Dawson never got the memo. More than a century after the stampede, placer mining is still a working industry. Every summer, dozens of family operations fire up excavators and sluice plants on the same drainages the stampeders staked in 1896, washing tens of thousands of ounces of raw gold from the gravel every year, worth well over $100 million at today's prices. And here's the cruel twist. More gold likely remains in the ground than everything the rush ever took out, because the stampede only skimmed the loose creek gold, and the hard rock it eroded from has barely been touched. The stampeders left believing the easy gold was gone. Their great-grandchildren stayed because it wasn't. Number 14. The billion-dollar scar. In the 1970s and 80s, the Faro mine was the beating heart of the Yukon economy, one of the largest open-pit lead and zinc mines on the planet, accounting for roughly a third of the territory's entire economic output. Then, metal prices collapsed. The operators went through bankruptcy after bankruptcy, and in 1998, the mine shut down for good, leaving around 70 million tons of tailings and hundreds of millions of tons of waste rock leaching toward the Pelly River. The cleanup is now one of the largest remediation projects in Canadian history, expected to cost around $1 billion, and one detail stops people cold. The water treatment is designed to run in perpetuity, not for 50 years. Forever. The mine ran for less than 3 decades. The bill never ends. Quick pause. We're about a third of the way down, and it only gets stranger from here. If the Yukon has surprised you so far, hit subscribe so the next one finds you. And if you've ever lived up north, Whitehorse, Dawson, anywhere on the highway, drop the fact I'm bound to have missed in the comments. I read every one. All right, back north. Number 13. The land ice forgot. Picture the last ice age, and you probably picture all of Canada buried under ice kilometers thick. Almost all of it was, but most of the Yukon never froze over at all. The interior was simply too dry to build glaciers, so while the rest of the country vanished under ice, central and northern Yukon stayed open ground, part of a lost world scientists call Beringia, a cold, dusty grassland stretching from the Yukon across a dry Bering Strait into Siberia. And it was crowded. Woolly mammoths, steppe bison, wild horses, camels, giant beavers the size of black bears, and scimitar cats that hunted them all. While ice entombed half a continent, the Klondike was a windswept savanna. The Ice Age didn't bury the Yukon. It just closed every road out, and life stayed for the duration. Number 12. The freezer. When the Ice Age ended, the ground that never glaciated froze from within, and it stayed frozen. Permafrost. And permafrost isn't just cold dirt. It works like a natural deep freeze, and everything that died on that Beringian grassland went straight into it. Not just bones, skin, hair, stomach contents. 50,000 years of the food chain vacuum sealed in the frozen silt the miners call muck. So every summer, placer miners aiming water cannons at frozen banks melt out mammoth tusks, bison skulls, and horse bones by the shovelful. And the territorial government employs paleontologists whose actual job is driving from mine to mine, collecting thousands of Ice Age specimens a year. In the Klondike, the treasure and the past come out of the same cut. Number 11. The wolf pup. In July of 2016, a miner named Neil Lovelace was blasting a wall of frozen muck on Last Chance Creek, near Dawson, when something small tumbled out of the thawing bank and went straight into his cooler. What he had found was a female wolf pup, complete. Fur, whiskers, paw pads, curled up as if asleep, and she had been asleep for around 57,000 years. She is the most complete ancient wolf ever discovered, about 7 weeks old, when her den collapsed and sealed her away. Elders of the Trondeck-Hwet'en First Nation, on whose traditional territory she surfaced, named her Zhùr, meaning wolf in the Han language. Analysis even revealed her last meals. The Ice Age predator frozen on a gold creek had been eating salmon. She died in a heartbeat, the ground kept her perfect, and today she rests in a museum in Whitehorse. Number 10. The Big Baby. 6 years later, the same ground did it again, and bigger. In June of 2022, a young equipment operator cutting through frozen muck at Eureka Creek, south of Dawson, struck something soft, and work stopped. Out of the permafrost came a complete baby woolly mammoth. Skin, hair, trunk, tiny tusks, even toenails. A female calf who lived more than 30,000 years ago, likely trapped in mud within a month of her birth. She is the most complete mummified mammoth ever found in North America. She surfaced on Trondeck-Hwet'en territory, and before the scientists took a single measurement, the First Nation held a ceremony for her. Elders named her Nunchoga, meaning big baby animal in the Han language. Missed by a century of mining, she emerged intact because one operator stopped digging in time. The freezer does not open often. When it does, it shows off. Number 9. The caves nobody believed. In the 1970s and 80s, a Canadian archaeologist named Jacques Cinq-Mars excavated 3 small caves above the Bluefish River, near Old Crow. He found animal bones bearing what he identified as cut marks from stone tools, with dates running up to 24,000 years old. The accepted story said humans arrived in the Americas roughly 13,000 years ago. He was doubted, dismissed, and quietly defunded. Then, in 2017, a new team re-examined thousands of those bones and concluded some cut marks were indeed made by human hands, at around the dates he claimed. The question is still debated, but it echoes something the Vun Tut Gwich'in of Old Crow already carried. Oral traditions describing an ancient grassland, enormous vanished animals, and great waters, where geologists later mapped a vast Ice Age lake. The stories were there first. The instruments spent a century catching up. Number 8. The River People. The word Klondike itself is a mistake, a miner's mangling of Trondeck, the river's name in the language of the Trondeck-Hwet'en, the First Nation who had fished at its mouth for countless generations before anyone shouted gold. Their fishing village, Trocheck, sat exactly where Dawson City exploded into existence. And within 2 years, the quiet salmon camp was surrounded by 30,000 strangers. Their leader, Chief Isaac, moved his people downriver to Moosehide, clear of the chaos. Believing the stampede could wash his culture away, he sent the nation songs and dances across the border, entrusting them to Han relatives in Alaska for safekeeping until the world calmed down. A century later, it did. The nation negotiated self-government in the 1990s, and the songs have been coming home. The Gold Rush renamed their river. It never got their music. Number 7. The Invisible Giant. Canada's highest mountain is one most Canadians could not name, and almost none have ever seen. Mount Logan rises 5,959 meters in the far southwest corner of the Yukon, buried so deep inside the St. Elias Mountains that no road offers even a distant view. You reach it by ski plane, or you don't reach it at all. Measured around its base, it is considered the largest non-volcanic mountain on Earth, with a summit plateau where temperatures near -70 have been recorded. The ice fields of Kluan Ni National Park around it form part of the largest non-polar body of ice on the planet. A frozen world the size of a small country hiding behind one row of ordinary-looking Front Range peaks. Some giants perform. This one just works. Number 6. The Impossible Road. In 1942, with the Second World War at Alaska's doorstep, the United States Army was ordered to build a road from British Columbia to Fairbanks through the most hostile construction country on Earth. More than 10,000 American soldiers punched roughly 2,700 kilometers of highway through mountains, muskeg, and permafrost in about 8 months. Not 8 years. 8 months in country where machines sank to their rooftops in bog and winter dropped past -40. Around a third of those soldiers were Black Americans in segregated regiments, and their performance on that road became evidence in the argument that ended segregation in the American military 6 years later. A road built at panic speed by men their own army doubted. It carried a war, then it carried the North. Number 5. Rabbit Creek. Ask who started the Klondike Gold Rush, and the old textbooks answer George Carmack. The Fuller story begins with his in-laws. In August of 1896, a Tagish man named Caish, known to the miners as Skookum Jim Mason, was on Rabbit Creek with his nephew, called Dawson Charlie, and with Carmack, who had married into the family. Accounts differ on whose eyes found it first, and several point to Caish. What they found was gold lying thick between slabs of bedrock, gold like cheese in a sandwich, as one famous line described it. The claim, though, was registered in Carmack's name. The family reportedly judged that the authorities would never honor a discovery claim filed by an indigenous man, and they read the situation correctly. Rabbit Creek was renamed Bonanza, and the books printed Carmack's name for a century. The rush that renamed the creek had renamed its discoverers first. Number 4. The Vanished River. And now the countdown turns, because the cold that built everything you've heard so far has started letting go. In the spring of 2016, the Slims River, which had fed Kluan Ni Lake for centuries, disappeared. Not slowly, in about 4 days. The Kaskawulsh Glacier, which feeds it, had retreated so far that its meltwater carved a new channel and switched drainages entirely, sending the water toward the Pacific instead of the Arctic. Scientists call this river piracy, and it had never been documented in modern times until it happened in the Yukon. The lake level dropped, and the dry bed of glacial silt now feeds dust storms that roll across the highway. A river older than every name on the map, gone between a Monday and a Friday. The Yukon's ice has started making decisions. Number 3. The Buckling Highway. The highway that 10,000 soldiers carved out in 8 months is being quietly unbuilt by the land beneath it. Long stretches of the Alaska Highway were laid over permafrost, and that permafrost, insulated for millennia, is now thawing. As the ice in the ground melts, the soil slumps, and the road surface heaves, cracks, and rolls. Drive between Destruction Bay and the Alaska border, and your suspension will report frost heaves like ocean swells. Crews rebuild the worst sections almost continuously, trying anything to keep the freezer under the asphalt closed, and the repairs swallow millions of dollars year after year on a road that cannot fail, because for whole communities, it is the only road there is. The highway conquered the permafrost in 1942. The permafrost, it turns out, was taking notes. Number 2. The Melting Archives. High in the alpine of the southern Yukon, patches of ice have sat on shaded slopes without melting for thousands of years. Caribou gather on them in summer to escape heat and insects, and for just as long, hunters climbed up to meet them there. In the late 1990s, those ancient ice patches started shrinking for the first time in living memory, and as they pulled back, they began handing things over. Ancient wooden hunting darts, some more than 9,000 years old, emerging with feather fletching, sinew lashings, and ochre paint intact. Arrows, carved tools, even a hide moccasin, preserved as if the ice had kept them in a drawer. Researchers and Yukon First Nations, whose ancestors made those weapons, survey the patches together each summer, racing the melt, because anything that thaws and isn't found rots in a season or two. The ICE caught what people lost. Now it is handing everything back at once. Number 1. The Great Return. Put the last few facts side by side and the pattern stops looking like coincidence. Zhùr the wolf pup surfaced in 2016. Nunchoga the mammoth calf surfaced in 2022. The 9,000-year-old darts, the vanished river, the buckling highway, all inside a single human generation. The permafrost that made the Yukon the finest natural freezer on Earth is failing, and a freezer doesn't fail quietly. It defrosts. On the Peel Plateau, thawing hillsides are collapsing into slumps so large they can be seen from space, tearing open ground sealed since the Ice Age. Summer after summer, the mining cuts and riverbanks around Dawson give up more tusks, more skulls, sometimes flesh and hide. For 57,000 years, this land took things. People, horses, machines, whole species. It kept every one of them in the dark, in perfect condition, and told no one. Now, on no schedule but its own, it has begun handing them back. The strangest fact about the Yukon is the simplest. It never forgot anything. So look at the map one more time, at that big empty space in the top corner, and understand what you're actually looking at. Not an absence, a collection. A territory that took in 30,000 dreamers and sent back a few hundred. That took 3,000 horses and machines the size of buildings, and kept them where they fell. That took wolves and mammoths and hunters' arrows, and held them, perfect, in the dark, longer than our species has had writing. The Yukon never lost any of it. It was only ever waiting, and now, thaw by thaw, it is deciding what to show us and when. Subscribe, and we'll keep uncovering the country one hidden place at a time, beneath the map.